I brought you on a little photo shoot this morning to one of my favourite locations in the centre of Lincoln. This row of factory facades is pretty much the remnants of Lincoln's heavy engineering past or heritage, not far away from where the first military tank in the First World War was designed and built and tested around this area. There's a really nice sculpture monument in the centre of Lincoln to exactly that history, just around the corner from here. This row of factories is all that's left of that history, and a lot of this site is being redeveloped slowly. So this row of facades is pretty much the last remaining sign of what Lincoln once was with its heavy engineering. Let's go. So we're starting at one end of the facades. I'm going to walk down. It's about 200 yards is all that's left of these factory units. Lots of details. So there's doors, windows, and one of the key features of this end particularly are these elevated ladders. So they start about 15 foot above the pavement height, and obviously were there to give access to the roof for maintenance purposes, I guess. But there's a lot of detail to them. They make a fantastic subject, and along with some of the old light fittings, the wiring, the brickwork and the windows, just create loads of detail. So I'm going to start by just exploring some of that and photographing the first one I come to. Here I'm stood right under this first ladder. It's got some great bent ironwork to it, and it makes for a great sort of subject to have a look at. So I'm just going to start by shooting almost the obvious photograph, which is right under it, looking straight up, and using some of that bent metalwork. And then I'm going to come to a slight angle, so I'm going to work this scene and see if I can just pull in the old light a little bit. Now I've got this more modern light on the left hand side that I don't really want in my photograph, and I've got a much more modern street light that I certainly don't want because it's got LED lights. It just doesn't suit the scene. So it's just about here. It's about working the scene, having a look at my focus point, and just trying to isolate some of that detail, particularly excluding some of that more modern stuff, and just having a look. I've got loads more of these ladders as we walk down, so I'm going to carry on quite quickly past here. I've got another ladder here. Again, it's bent. It's got a lot of detail behind it. So I don't want to just keep repeating the same image, because I've got a lot of very different detail behind it. The cables coming out of the wall, the opening in the wall, this metal that's just hanging down. It's quite fascinating. And then right at the top, you've got a plant that looks like a tree. It almost looks like an oak tree growing out of the top of the building. So I'm zooming right in here, and I've got the broken cloud, the sky in the background. So having a bit of broken cloud is really nice, because that's giving me some detail rather than just a plain white or a plain sky. So I've got these really nice, almost rust red doors. They've got some detail on them, the handles. They've got some little plaques on them, and this window here just been scratched out. Look, see, somebody's been looking in or out. Can't see anything through there. So there's some nice detail on there. I'm always a bit of a sucker for a bit of symmetry. Sometimes that works really nice. Sometimes I have to force myself to change that symmetry and move away from it. We've got some detail here as a step out. So the plant that I saw on the roof, just with this old opening behind it. Here I'm shooting up into the sky, so I've just added a bit of exposure compensation to hopefully get the detail there. And then I've got this really nice broken window here with a view through to the roof of the unit behind, with the corrugated steel and the lattice work of the roof truss. So there's some really nice detail. There's even a break in that window there that looks like a cat sat on the windowsill. This is quite nice, because we get a view of the units behind this facade, and here you can really use a little bit of depth of field to start to isolate some of the detail. So I get down to F4, and what I'll try and do is focus on some of the steel work in the background. Let's see if I can isolate some of that. We've got a really nice bit of detail here in the number 13, and we've got the brickwork, we've got the rust to the 13 sign, and also this red painted door behind with a peeling paint. So what I'm going to do is, there's a temptation here to go quite wide and get a lot of detail in here. But what I want to do is, and I've shot this before, is I want to go sort of really quite tight on this. And there, because I've got my number 13 is like sort of my key point of interest, I've just offset it a little bit. So I'm very much using the rule of thirds to place that number 13, but just support it with all that texture and that interest that you've got beyond there. You've then got this window with a little bit of boarded up, and then broken above. And again, there's some really cool detail, some electrical appliance through that window that's nicely framed by that broken glass. You've then got these brackets attached to the wall. We've got something to grab the viewer's attention. We've got these brackets that stick out. They're quite geometric. Create a nice pattern along with the eroded brickwork. We've got this interesting doorways opened up. It's fenced, but I can see an old crane. I'm going to look at how I can just isolate some of that. And I'm always looking to see what I'm going to focus on and what's going to be my detail. Here I've got the stenciling on the beam there, which says Bay 15Q, and then later on it says Danger. If that's the thing that grabs your attention, then fill the frame with it. It's no use going wide and losing that detail, because you'll lose the interest in the photograph. If the text, if the label, the paintwork is what grabs your attention to begin with, that's what you need to focus on. That's what's really worth zooming in and getting that level of detail. I've got another ladder here. I'm almost tempted to think there's too much going on here. Again, we've got the ladder detail from further down. So let's use the principle of zooming in as far as we can. The ladder is my background there, so it's the streetlight that really is my main subject in that shot, rather than the ladder itself. That's an interesting one with a plant growing through it. The ladder structure is almost a frame to the textural detail inside. Moving on, again, we've got a window, a broken window, but a great view through these slats of the background. So again, just using the texture, the detail, and also the framing of that louvre on the window. I'm going to walk across the road and get a wider view of the building, just to demonstrate something that I talked about right at the beginning, which is isolating detail in my photographs. Coming across the street, I get a much wider view of the building, and whilst there might be a temptation to shoot wide here and get lots of detail in the shots, actually what happens is you start to lose the subject that you're trying to photograph. You lose that character that those small bits of detail that we've looked at all the way through the walk actually provide. I'm going to demonstrate it here by taking a wide angle shot of this doorway and the wall. And whilst you can see that I've included lots of the detail that we got in those tighter shots before, we're actually losing the subject, losing the interest in the photograph. So there's just too much going on with that photograph as it stands. But stepping back here has allowed me to see how the light has changed. I've got a broader light here, and if I'm looking up, still looking for detail, I've spotted that the light is falling or shining really nicely on this ladder right up against the sky at the top. And so here I'm zooming in as far as I can to get, again, some detail. I'm just spotting how that detail is showing itself very differently as I step back away from the building. And just to wrap up this short photo walk, I thought as we came back to the start point, I'd turn around and just have a look at the modern buildings that are slowly replacing the old buildings that we've explored so far, and see if we can match a little bit of the texture and detail that we've captured in the old buildings in the new ones here. And I think this facade has been designed very nicely with just that in mind. So just add a shot or two of that in the same style as we've used along the factory facades, just as a way of concluding our photo walk. So I hope you've found that of interest. I hope you found that useful, and I hope it's been inspiration for you to go and explore somewhere local to where you are. Yeah, I hope to see you again. Let me know what you think to what you've seen today, and yeah, we'll catch up again. See you soon. Bye bye.